by the end of the period that we were given of 6 months, that Community Chest was going to fund the project, we had a 70% success rate. 70% of the individuals had been employed. They were able to pay for their accommodation. We turned this into independent living, where people are actually paying for their accommodation and are readying themselves to go back into society. Everything. One gentleman is across the road at Serengeti. He's now the caretaker. We've got people that are working in the social development sector. Two of them are working at streetscapes. And with me, I mean, I am now, besides the committee duties that I have and still running the house, I have registered an organization called the Rehousing Collective, of which our house is now a part of. And our rent still gets funded by Community Chest, but everything else is funded by ourselves. And I also write a column for the Argus every Tuesday, which is called So Am I, basically telling everybody that I'm just like they are, except that I was homeless. So the whole thing about COVID has been that it has awoken people to realize that homeless people are not any different from anyone else except for the status of the accommodation. And obviously, when you're outside, you're going to look dirty, you're going to smell different, but ultimately clean up and different to anybody else. Most of us did drugs, and I was doing drugs by the time when they picked me up. Because that is what keeps you going. When you're working 16 hours a day, scuttling and trying to sell your goods and not commit crimes, etc., you do things like that. And homelessness criminalizes you. So everything you do, it doesn't matter, you don't even have to do drugs. You're pushing a trolley and you get sent up for 6 months. So anything you do as a homeless person gets treated as a crime. If you naturally don't have a physical address. And if you get arrested, anybody gets arrested, they have to provide proof of address before you get considered for bail. If you don't get bail, you get sent up to Pollsmoor, initially for 7 days, but there can be 3 postponements. So they postpone them long enough to make sure that they keep you out of society as long as possible. And that is the unfairness of the whole system, is that even people that have shoplifted a chocolate or are pushing a trolley go in for 6 months and they come out of there. I call it the College of Knowledge. They come out of there carjackers, and they come out of there as gang members. So this is what they are actually doing to homeless people, and the perception of society as such is that you get fed one narrative, and so you're going to believe that narrative. And that is why I am so grateful for the opportunity I have with the column I write, with the posts that I write, and blogs, is to inform people about what the other side of homelessness looks like. I had a lady, one of our neighbors, 2 doors down actually. I knew her, but she didn't know me, and on the trip, people about what the other side of homelessness looks like. I had a lady, one of our neighbors, 2 doors down actually. I knew her, but she didn't know me, and on the trip to town, from town, back up to Gardens, she came and sat next to me, and not knowing who I was, started ranting and raving about the vile, disgusting homeless people. And I listened, I kept quiet, I listened, and I'm boiling inside, and so she became my column the next Tuesday, where I then decided I'm going to, actually on the Tuesday that it's published, I'm going to go next door, and I'm going to hand her the newspaper and introduce myself properly, because she's been living next to homeless people for 6 months and she hasn't realized they're so vile. And I wanted to show her another side. I didn't want to be ugly with her, I wanted to show her another side. And so I extended an invitation to her, together with the paper, to go on a little trip. She could take 2 friends or family members or whatever to feel safe with me. But I wanted to show her that. And unfortunately, her response was not exactly the nicest of responses. And she read it. Her 2 children were there in their cities. And she very abruptly told me that she started clapping her hands after reading my note to her. And she said, "Well done, you deserve an Oscar award." And she was very upset. And I actually thought maybe I did the wrong thing. I didn't want to upset the lady. And I think the children were so shocked by the whole thing that they immediately said, "Oh, but they'll go with me." And I thought, "Oh, well, that defeats the object. I don't have a problem with you." But I thought, no, maybe, let me do it. And strangely enough, we'd arranged for an hour later to be ready, and as we were leaving, I hear her in the background. I actually get emotional if I think about it. She says she's coming with, but she's bringing binoculars because she doesn't want to meet face to face. So, in any case, I played the game alongside her, and she went along. But she stayed very far away. I took them to the Vaal Park initially, and then up to Rivier Park, and showed them where I'd stayed and the people that stayed there. And I didn't know she was a dog lover, but thank God she was, because the people at the Vaal Park had dogs, and Rivier Park had dogs, and she spent most of the time playing with the dogs whilst her kids were listening to me. And they brought cigarettes along, the two children, so of course they were popular with the homeless people as well. When we got to Rivier Park, and I showed them that there's different clusters of homeless people, that starts with the Rastas up there, and it goes down to the ZCCs, and then it goes down to the people don't realize that there's different groupings. And nobody was bothered about the Rastas and the ZCCs. Then we came down to the Congolese and the foreigners, and I started speaking to them in French and Portuguese, because I happened to be Portuguese and I had French at varsity, and the woman was totally dumbstruck and asked me, "Why didn't you tell me?" I said, "Well, you didn't ask." And then we got down to Rivier Park, down where I used to stay, and we have a very active dog there called, I'm not putting his name now, but I'll get it now. And he was so danger, and he was so over this woman, and she was playing with him, and then the next thing I knew, she ran off. And the next thing I saw is she got into a car, obviously an Uber, so I said, well, Uber definitely is good service. But now I'm worried about what actually happened. And so we decided to leave as well, and outside her house, she wasn't back yet. And I came around the corner, and she was speaking to one of the individuals at the house, at the gate. And I said, well, I'm going to safe, etc. Can I take you inside? She said, no, that's fine. She said, cool. In the meantime, I'm getting a message from the Vaal Park that has told me that she delivers a huge bag of dog food to them, and said that she would visit them during the week. She told me none of this herself, and then she put a note into my hand and walked around the corner. And that note made her the sponsor of one of the guys in the house, and she's now sponsoring one of the guys in the house, and yeah, it's the change that we've seen with COVID.